Welcome back, and if you're new here, my name is Sylvia. I talk about planning and writerly things, and I do the occasional review. So today's video is going to be about a review on the new Scribbles That Matters A5 dot grid bullet journal notebook. So I've decided to keep a bullet journal for the rest of the year. Of course, that won't be my only source of planning because I'm all over the place. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that already. So I did buy some accessories. I'm very much into a black pen, which I ended up getting. So I'm going to be trying out these new Sharpie pens in a 0.5, which is a finer tip, in my Scribbles That Matter, as well as some highlighters. And I wasn't sure which ones I wanted, so I got these. They're new. And they're also new to me, which is the Sharpie S Note or the Snote. I don't know. There are 24 in this pack. And my favorite uni highlighters, I do own, I think, this pack, but I've never owned these two. So I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use, maybe a little bit of both. And I probably will do a separate review on the two of these versus this, probably, in another video. So be looking forward to that in the future. This will get super long, so we're just going to stick with the Scribbles That Matter for this video. Now on to the specs. This is the A5 dotted journal by Scribbles That Matter. Create your favorite bullet journal on ultra thick 160 GSM no bleed paper, hardcover notebook, fountain pens friendly paper, iconic version in gray. So for those of you who are like me and you're late to the game, I've never owned a Scribbles That Matter notebook before, mostly because I'm not a fan of thick paper. However, I recently used a notebook that had thick paper in it, and I couldn't believe that I was using it and that I was loving it. And it had a minimum of like 124 pages. I don't have it with me right now and I can't show you it because I finished the entire notebook, which was so satisfying. One of my struggles with a bullet journal is there's over 200 pages. It's really hard for me to finish them because I get bored and I want to set up a new notebook or a new planner. That's kind of my thing if you've been following my channel. And I just can't get through really, really long notebooks that have tons of pages. This one has, I believe, 150. I'm looking at the specs now and I don't know that it says 150 plus. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's 150 pages are numbered and then there's extra pages that are not. We will open it up and see. But I'm really excited about this because less pages means that I'm probably going to finish it. Fingers crossed. I love this little cover that it comes in. It's adorable. It's black and white, has doodles all over it. Fancy, fancy. So when you're done, you can actually put it on your shelf like that. Scribbles That Matter dotted A5 in gray. So if you're someone who is not a fan of all of the little doodles that are embossed in the front cover, see, are they in the back as well? Yes, they are. And it has Scribbles That Matter embossed on the spine, so it looks really nice on the shelf. I really like this. There's something about the gray color and this really pretty blue. I don't know, I was really feeling it. It comes in different colors, but as I was starting to say, if you're someone who's not really into the doodles because you feel like that makes it look childlike, they do have a version that has a solid cover. Now this is supposed to be vegan leather, and it has kind of like a little bit of a squishiness to it, which I appreciate. It's very nice because most hardcovers, they don't have any give at all, especially on the spine. It's kind of soft. You can see that you can move it there. Squish, 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 squish. It has an elastic. Let's see. Oh, I don't want to rip this. There we go. It has an elastic closure, like most bullet journals that are bound. This is supposed to be wider paper than the original. Again, I've never owned the original. First looking at it, it is slightly gray to me. It doesn't look like a true white. Maybe that's just my lighting. I don't really know. It is a bound notebook and it has like a subtle gray, which is really nice. It's not overwhelming. I can pull it up closer. And the numbers are teeny tiny. So if you have eye issues, I don't know that you'd love it, but I think they're meant to not be intrusive and they're not. I really like them. So let's see how many pages are actually in here. Okay, so this is why they say 51 plus. So you get 152 pages, and then a pen testing page. Why wouldn't, I guess because it's a pen testing page, they don't include this, but why wouldn't they just say 152 plus? Whatever. It does start on page 1, so it's not counting everything in the beginning. So what do you get in the beginning? Scribbles That Matter, A5 dotted journal. This page is super thick. Scribbles of, and then you can write your name here. Started and ended, I like that. Then you move on to the key, and it says bullet code and then color code. I appreciate that. I wish it was a little bit, like, take up all the space. You know what I mean? Maybe you want to put a bunch of stuff in there. I guess you could add on if you wanted to, but, you know, whatever. Index, so you get 1, 2, 3. 3 pages for index, which is nice. I hardly ever use the index, but I appreciate that they put them in there for those of you who do. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to move this out of the light to just check it out for a second. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like it's a little bit gray. It's not like a bright, brilliant white. I do notice that there is a plus sign. Let's see if I can pull that up. In the center of the page. And there is a dash to indicate that this is the center line, not only on the sides, but also on the top and the bottom. So it'll be very easy to divide the page without having to count out any of the dots, which is very nice. I appreciate that. So I do notice it, but it's not intrusive. Again, it's just very subtle. You almost could miss it if you're not paying attention. It does come with my enemies, 2 of them, the ribbons, and it comes with this really weird, like, beige color and this really pretty blue. I don't know why they wouldn't just make it gray. I mean, it's not that far off, but it's kind of weird. Whatever. These are just, you know, not things that probably bother most people. I don't think that it bothers me, but it's just important to note. You can see the binding right here on some pages, and I think that's because the paper is so thick, it can't be helped. That kind of looks a little bit sloppy to me personally. I mean, look at that. And there it is again. And then there's some pages like this where it's not as apparent. Okay. So in the front, you get just white blank paper with a few things written on it. And in the back, you get doodles, which I think is kind of cute. It just makes me feel less pressure to have to like put anything on here. I mean, if you wanted to put like design paper or something, which I've done in bullet journals in the past, you certainly can. It comes with that back expanded pocket like most bullet journals do. Oh, and look how cute. It's also doodled everywhere. That's kind of cute. Interesting that there's no stickers or anything in here, like for instance, that come with the Moleskine or the Leuchtturm. Huh. And you have a pen loop, which does not come with the Leuchtturm or the Moleskine. Usually you have to purchase this separately. If you buy the Leuchtturm, it's a little more expensive because it is a brand name. You can find them from around $6 to $10 depending on the color and where you purchase them. I appreciate that you don't have to buy that. It already comes with it, but that might be added into the price, which this was, I think, $25. And again, you're getting less pages than you originally did. I never owned it, so I don't know if they changed the price. The paper is thick, but it's not too thick, 160, that I feel like I'm going to cut myself. Sometimes with thicker paper, I feel like, oh my God, I'm going to get a paper cut. This is okay. I'm not hating it. I don't know if it's worth $24. I will link down below the notebook I used for $7 that my boyfriend ended up getting for a review, and he gave it to me and I used it. It is from Amazon. I think it's called Artfan. It was $7. It only has 124 pages, but for $7, I really liked it. The paper was thicker. I will say that Leuchtturm for an A5 notebook is $19.99. If you get the one that is the official bullet journal collab with writer Carol, it's around $24 to $25, so around this price. But you do get the index with all of the icons and definitions for the bullet journal method in the back. So I really appreciate that. A Moleskine, depending on which one you get, and you get various layouts in the Moleskine, which is what I appreciate, also with the Leuchtturm. But I tend to get the square grid because I appreciate that more than the dot grid. Unfortunately, I think right now this only comes in dot grid. That Moleskine will run you anywhere from, you know, $12 to $17, again, depending on where you buy it and what color you get and the layout. Now, this company claims that its paper has no bleed paper, no ghosting as well. So let's try out a pen test. So here we have the pens that give me the most struggle with bleed through. I will be honest, I don't doodle. I know a lot of people like this for doodling, and people like to use Sharpie. So I will try Sharpie for you in case you're one of those people who wants to draw. And we have the Sharpie Brush Tip. I certainly am not fancy, but I will try my best to like deal. I mean, that's a horrible laugh, whatever. So let's see how the Sharpies are doing. So both of these actually bleed through, just to let you know. We have a little bit of bleed through, not too bad, and there is ghosting. And it says it shouldn't ghost with most pens. So technically they're not liars. So with the Prismacolor, it also bled through slightly and there is ghosting. All right, so all of those are fails. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't use any of these. I own them because I own them. Sometimes when we do stuff for basketball on like big poster boards, the Sharpies come in handy. Otherwise, I don't really use them. On to a couple of other things that might be actually useful to people who bullet journal, and that would be these three: the Tombow, the mild liner, and the Play Color Dot. These are three that I feel like a lot of people really like and occasionally use in their planning. However, the struggle is real with these. They will bleed through certain paper. So let's start here. I don't know why I just got all of the black. I think it's because I want to know whether it's going to ghost or not. And since black is the darkest color, the color of my soul, just kidding, we're going to find out whether it does. Okay. Tombow. Tombow does not ghost, nor does it bleed. Woohoo! Very excited. All right. Now we will try the Play Color Dot. Now, this is a dual tipped pen. So the idea is there's a stamp on one side and then there's a fine tip on the other. And the fine tip is a little bit darker than the stamp so that you can check off the little circle, like it's not a box, like the little circle when you do a task. So for instance, and the struggle is really hard to maneuver these, because if you don't stamp it just right, you're going to get like a crescent moon, or it's only going to give you a partial circle. And so you can't really control how much ink comes out of it as you're kind of like twisting as you move up. And sometimes it takes me, since it's been a while, a couple of tries to get it right. See, that's a perfect circle. So here is the fine tip. See how it's a little bit darker. So these are the Play Color Dots, and they are a fine tip, so I really love them. But again, I can't use them with every paper. And you can see that here a little bit it did ghost, but for the most part we're golden. No bleed through. Pull it up a little bit. It's right there. So it does, and I think when you first use it, you should use it like on a Post-it, because I think that's when the most ink comes out, and then after a while it uses less ink. But that first time you use it after a while, it certainly does let out a lot of ink. So this one is, you know, pretty much okay. All right, mild liners. So mild liners, depending on the color, sometimes some colors bleed more than others. It's just a thing. And if you've, you know, dealt with mild liners or any kind of set of colors, you probably have seen that some colors do bleed more than others. So let's try out the mild liners. And they are also dual tipped. And I tell you, for the first month I had them, I forgot all about this finer tip pen. No problems there. So on to a felt tip. I like to use the Microns. This is in a 03. Then we have our Staedtler pen and our Paper Mate. Now this one is a more broad tip, so it's going to release more ink. We'll see how that goes. And those work beautifully on here. I used to love these pens. So there is no bleed through with this, no smearing, but I do feel like for whatever reason this pen is a little bit duller. Like it comes off lighter on this paper than it does on others. So that's interesting. I do know that people have commented that the old paper that used to be more cream colored and it was thinner, it was like 100 GSM, this is 160. It used to have like a coating, I believe, on it, and now it doesn't. So the other struggle is if this paper is a little bit more rough, and that's what some people have said, you have to be very careful when using your Tombos or other brush pens on here, because the first thing you learn when you start to use brush pens and you do brush lettering is that you should have a very smooth paper. The more rough the paper, the more it's going to mess up the tip of your pen, and then you're going to have to replace these more often. So that might be another struggle for you, and this might be, you know, a paper that you decide not to use. If that is the case, let me know down below if you are someone who uses brush pens and you are aware that that's what happens on this paper. Okay, Micron. This works out great. A lot of people in the bullet journaling community love Microns, at least to draw out their layouts for their bullet journal. Now, this is just a Paper Mate Ink Joy gel pen in a 0.5. I want to do a smear test because it does say, I believe, no smear as well. And this is a new pen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at that, soaks it up really nicely. And of course, no bleed through or ghosting with that. That makes me really happy because you all know, if you've been following my channel, that I always deal with smearage all the time. I'm out of control. So I'm not a fountain pen user, so I do have these disposable Pilot Varsity pens that you can pick up like at any Walmart, and I will try that out for you because these do release a lot of ink. So no bleed through, no ghosting with these. I definitely have to watch what I use as far as paper is concerned with these because they will bleed. And again, this is another gel pen, but it's a pretty famous one that a lot of people like to use. So I'm going to go ahead and do a test on here. This is a broader tip. It is a 0.7, which means it's going to release more ink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one does not pass the 5-second rule, although the Paper Mate did. This one's going to take a little bit longer, and I have found that these are a more wet pen where you do have to wait. So I'll do 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So at about 10 seconds, it's dry enough that it does pass the smear test. So that's not terrible. Okay. So those are just some basic pens that I have that other people might be trying to use when it comes to a thicker paper. When I open and do this review, I will add these to the pen test and let you see that as well. So what are my overall thoughts of the Scribbles That Matter notebook? Well, I haven't really gotten to use it yet, so I can't really say. I can tell you that right here, it already looks like there's some kind of smudge. I don't know if that's coming off of my table. I'll have to play back the video and see if this actually was there before. You can see it right there. and right there. I have heard people say that this does pick up a bunch of stuff. You can see right here that there's another smudge. So maybe it's coming off of this. That is interesting. So that's something to be aware of. It is like a fake faux leather up here too. So smudges are definitely going to get on this. I don't know if it wipes off well, so I will try that and I will let you know. Right now, I feel like if you don't want ghosting, which is going to happen in Leuchtturm and Moleskine notebooks, then you might want to try this out. The paper doesn't seem crazy thick, but it feels like it's thick enough that you're not going to have any ghosting. There are less pages in here than in the Leuchtturm. Let me know down below how you feel about probably paying the same price as you used to for this notebook and getting less pages. The argument can be that you're getting the same product, it's just cut thicker. Okay, so final thoughts. If you're someone who doesn't like thick paper, I would not recommend buying this. I've never owned it and I'm kind of on this kick where I want to try out new things. I would highly recommend buying something like the Artfan Notebook that I will link down below from Amazon for $7 that has very thick paper. So you can decide for less money whether you're a thick paper kind of person or if it's just going to sit on the shelf. Because if you're not going to use your notebook, or if you're someone like me who has a lot of notebooks on the shelf just calling for them to be used, you might blow this off and use one of those if you can't handle thicker paper. So I highly recommend trying something cheaper first before, you know, moving up to this paper that's going to cost you $24, $26, depending on where you get it from and what color you choose. So stay tuned for the next video, which will be a comparison between these highlighters and these highlighters, and then following my setup of my new bullet journal. All right, my name is Sylvia. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.